Welcome to another episode of Gospel in Culture. As always, I'm your host, Justin Bilson, and we're here with one of our teaching pastors, Ben Parkinson. Thank you for joining us.
Thanks, man. Glad to be here.
Hey, we've got a very challenging but great subject today, great question. Today's question is, are we nearing the end times?
Yeah, so obviously a lot of people are fascinated with that question, have been for probably the history of the world. I think on the one hand, the quick answer to that is we're always nearing the end times. Even going back to when Jesus ascended into heaven 2,000 years ago, Peter writes to the church and says, that, man, we're almost near the end is at hand. And that's back in Peter's day, right? And then also we know that every day we are marching nearer to his return. And so we felt that. Not only that, but I think people have always wondered, are we near the end times throughout history because so many big world events happen that are scary. I mean, I think about, when any kind of conqueror is taking over the world, like a Genghis Khan, or when the Crusades were happening back in the medieval times, or World War I, World War II, it makes you ask, this is surely the end, right? Like this has got to be Armageddon. So I think people have always asked that question. Something interesting that Jesus kind of mentions to his disciples and really reminds us of is that one of the reasons why we don't need to be obsessed over that question is because no one knows the day or the hour. Not even him. Matthew 24:36. But concerning that day and hour, no one knows, not even the angels of heaven, nor the Son, but only the Father. So Jesus says, one day the Father's just going to say, it's time. And I'm going to say, okay. And he's going to head back. But he's not even obsessing over it. So I think that's one of the things that we can get into with this question, that if we're always reading books, always watching videos, always looking at the news articles, always trying to figure out, is this the day, scanning Revelation, Daniel to see, is this the day? I think that can be, if we're not careful, a certain waste of our time as Christians down here and getting too obsessed with it. And I'd say anyone that picks a day or an hour and tells you they know it, that's a false teacher, and you need to run from them hard.
You raise a great point, and I love how you package that. As we kind of dive deeper into this question, so we know where our focus should not be, and we know what we shouldn't be focused on. So in light of what you've just said, where should our focus be? Because again, we don't know when it's going to happen, but where should our focus be as we continue to walk this walk?
Yeah, so I do think that just because we don't need to obsess over the exact minute or hour or day doesn't mean that we can't pay attention to the signs of the times. Jesus even mentioned that to the Pharisees, when he said, hey, you guys can read the signs of the weather around you. When the sky's red, it's going to rain, but you don't even read the signs of the times around you. It's like you can't even tell what's going on spiritually speaking. And then Jesus also talks about the end of it all. In Matthew 24, he says, for nation will rise against nation and kingdom against kingdom, and there will be famines and earthquakes and wars and rumors of wars, he says, but these are the beginning of birth pains. And so that's been a real analogy. It's been helpful for me when it comes to thinking about the end times, is when you think about the contractions that a woman begins to go through when she's giving birth. They start off real subtle and real far apart. So they're not as intense, and there's a longer break between them, right? And so, but then as the baby starts to come, they get more and more intense, and they get closer and closer together. So have we always had earthquakes? We've always had earthquakes. Have we always had floods and natural disasters? Yes. Have we always had wars and rumors of wars? Yes. But I would say they've been fewer and farther between and more breaks in between them until now we feel more and more intense, the news all the time. I think we feel those contractions increasing, right? And then the book of Daniel says something interesting. In Daniel 12:4, at the end of his whole kind of prophecy about the end of the world, the final verse there is, but Daniel, you shut up the words and seal the book. And he says, until the time of the end, many shall run to and fro, and knowledge shall increase. And I think when I think about that notion, that people will be traveling everywhere all the time, and knowledge will increase. Man, with the invention of the internet, with airplanes that can get you halfway across the world in 12 hours, I think we would say that has gone to a pretty far extreme, and I'm not sure how much farther it can go or needs to go. Now, does that mean it's right around the corner? I don't know. But what I know is it does remind me these things are happening. They are getting closer and closer. We've got to be getting somewhere near the end. And so because of that, we should be faithful. We should be passionate about the things of the gospel. When the apostles asked Jesus in Acts 1:8, is this the time of the kingdom? He said, it's not for you to know the times. The same question we ask all the time. But he did say, but I'm going to send you guys my witnesses to Jerusalem, Judea, Samaria, the uttermost ends of the world. Go and witness about me. Go and make disciples. Go and do what the church was called to do. So I think what Jesus is calling us to do, what we should be focused on, is our faithfulness to our calling to witness, share the good news of Jesus Christ, and make disciples. So when he comes back, that's what he finds us doing. That's one of those other analogies. Hey, when the bridegroom returns, he needs to find you faithful, find you active, find you awake and working. That's what we should be focused on. And sometimes we get distracted. Instead of doing what he asks us to do, we're obsessed trying to figure out when he's coming back, which he hadn't asked us to do.
That was awesome. Thank you for that, and just kind of reminding us that we're to do as Christ told us, and to occupy until he comes, and to be found faithful. So thank you for answering such a tough and challenging question.
Yeah,
So
man.
we appreciate that. Well, this has been Gospel and Culture. As always, we want to answer your questions. So if there's a question that you have, we want to answer as best we can. Email it to us at gospelandculture@fellowshiponline.com. Again, please subscribe to the channel, as well as follow us on social media at Fellowship AR to get more news about when these videos are released. Don't forget to share it with your family and friends. We want to reach as many people as we can for God's glory through these videos. So thank you again for watching Gospel and Culture. We'll see you next time.